Hello, and welcome to the Megan Millen podcast. The name is still a work in progress. I made some more progress yesterday as to what the name would be, but hey, for now, it is still the Megan Millen podcast. I just want to make sure it's right and that it resonates with me. You know what I mean? I see people out there who put out podcast names, and you could just tell, right? Like, they're not rooted to it, and I don't want that to be me. So for now, it's my name. Also, side note, I am so sore. I started picking up running again. And if you watch my Instagram stories, I've talked about this before, but I used to be an avid runner. And then I stopped because I was using running as a way to cope instead of just deal with my shit. I would use it to relieve stress, if my nervous system was feeling all haywire, I would go run thinking I was calming it. I was doing anything but calming it. If anything, I was making it worse. I would run at the most random times, so sporadic. I would run for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever, any time of day. And my body, if anything, was like, can you please stop? We need to rest. We need to be on a schedule so that we're not expecting haywire at any moment of the day. Also, side note, I'm getting my nails done later today, thank God. They still have a Valentine's Day heart on them, which I don't hate, but it's just like, it's time. You know, I even still have my Valentine's Day decorations up, and it's like, time to take it down, time to fix the nails. So that's also on the docket. I cannot wait to get into today's episode. It is everything I've been thinking of since my last podcast, which I literally wrote Valentine's Day. And today, the day I'm recording this, is February 26th. So I have a lot of topics I want to chat about. It's all my notes app. It's all organized chaos, if you know what I mean. I'm a very organized person. I think I was talking about this last time. I am organized, but also when you are just writing your thoughts, almost right when you're just getting all these intuitive hits, and even without trained intuition, it's just when you have this incoming flow of information, you're just like type, right? You know what I mean? So it's organized chaos in the notes app. And the first thing I want to touch on is normalizing changing your POV. If you are doing life right, if you are evolving and growing and learning, your point of view should not be the same today and 5 years from now. You know what I mean? And we are so glued to and tethered to this idea, literally anchored to. People anchor us to things we said when we were 18 or whatever age, you know what I mean? Can we normalize not doing that anymore? I could literally change my idea on something 5 minutes from now because I can learn new information. I could have a new intuitive pull. I could have a new perspective that changes my opinion on a situation or circumstance. And I don't know how I thought about this next point under this main heading of normalizing your POV, but something that has been triggering me. And again, if you are taking radical ownership of your life, any trigger is just a reflection of a limiting belief that you hold to be true. But, and this is probably a limiting belief of me feeling like I can't be authentic and vulnerable, but I have been so triggered by watching people posting crying videos of themselves. And crying videos of themselves with, I don't know, it reminds me of the TikTok sound or the TikTok trend where it was like, probably needed a hug, but instead, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we get it, especially if you're a business owner, especially as I am an entrepreneur creating my business. If you think you are the only person crying at 4 a.m., questioning everything, you are absolutely wrong. That is not novel that, hey, you're crying and you need a hug. Yo, we all do. I'm not posting, or I don't really post or talk about me crying or the vulnerable side of growing a business. And there are multiple reasons for that. Yes, it is vulnerable to show that side of yourself. And like, right, even when we're young, it's kind of ingrained in our heads almost to a certain extent that crying is bad. And that's just something I feel like I've carried with me. Or crying is a showness, or crying shows weakness. And it doesn't, but also I'm not posting about it. Yes, it's a trigger. Maybe it would help other people to see, hey, this isn't all, again, butterflies and rainbows. I know I've referenced that before. Creating something no one else has done before is not all butterflies and rainbows. However, I'm not law focusing, me being crying, angry. I'll talk about it. I love that side of me. But at the end of the day, I'm not posting about it. I'm not making my whole personality, because if you law of focus on that, you will just create and attract more situations and circumstances to amplify that crying, angry feeling. And you want to know why else it really triggers me? It is such low-hanging fruit to show yourself crying. It's literally how people have gone viral. There's been multiple influencers, I'm not going to mention them, but where they will admit that where they had a turning point or a breakthrough in their career is when they were being more vulnerable or posting crying videos. It just pisses me off. Like, we get it. You cried. We all cry. I don't need to post about it. But again, I 1000% recognize that is also a limiting belief of mine, but it is just really triggering me right now. And also I was thinking about how a lot of us go through life with closed hearts. What do I mean by that? When you have an open heart, you are open to unconditionally loving others and unconditionally loving yourself. And a lot of us over time think, especially the older we get, we think we are becoming more resilient. It's the mindset of, oh, we've seen shit, we're resilient. People show less emotions. And when you do this work, when you start healing your self-image, training your intuition, you are actually opening up your heart more. And why is that? Because self-image is how you perceive yourself and how you believe other people perceive you. So if you are seeing yourself for who you truly are, if you are unconditionally loving yourself, you are opening your heart. It also goes with having empathy for others. If you are in this work, if you are a healer, you have the biggest heart and the biggest emotional attachment to other people. You have a very open heart to other people. And what happens is when you get older, you kind of get stuck in your ways. And that could be any age. I say older, I'm 33 right now. It could be 33, 63, 23, whatever, 93. What typically happens is we stop seeing ourselves for who we truly are, or we start seeing less and less of ourselves for who we truly are. And we start thinking, oh, this is just the way things are. So actually think about when you're 23 and all of a sudden you graduate college, you're thrown into the world, and most of us are not even on our soul pool at that point. I mean, anything you do is attempting to course correct you to get onto your soul pool. Like me at 23, I was going to PT school. I don't need to be a PT to do what I do. It was all part of my soul plan and purpose. I had no idea what my soul pool was at the time, but that's just another ding in my life. I don't mean to put a negative connotation on ding, but it's just another moment of, okay, you graduated college. You made the decision to go to physical therapy school. That's not the vibe. That's not what you're supposed to be doing if you truly knew what you were back on earth to do. So what happens, right? I wasn't seeing myself for who I truly was at the time, and my heart becomes a little more closed. And you start thinking, oh, this is just what you do. You just go to school and you just follow these steps of X, Y, Z. Then you get the job and then you get married, then you have kids, blah, blah, blah. And those are all things that could be a part of your soul pool, meaning the family and the kids. But you just kind of get stuck in the motions of what we expect life to look like. And when you get stuck in the motions of life, again, you're not seeing yourself for who you truly are, your heart becomes more closed. And if I had to speak to myself, especially when I graduated PT school, you start getting into the mindset of, oh, this is my life now? I wish I did this potentially. I wish I did this. I wish I would have blah, 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 blah. And again, that's just another moment of me just going through the motions of life, not seeing myself for who I truly am. Cue my heart closing even more. And even at that moment, when you graduate PT school, you're 25, and now it was a little bit of getting stuck in my ways, meaning this is what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is getting the 9-to-5 job. Everyone else is just doing the grind of what society tells you life is. And to a certain extent, you think you're being more resilient. I thought I was resilient. I am resilient, but you just think and become a little harder because you think you've been through hard things in your life. Meaning even PT school, that was a grind. That was a grind to go through and graduate from PT school. And again, that path didn't need to be a part of my overall journey. But even using that, I thought I was way more resilient because I did the grind of that. I did the grind of school. I passed boards. I was a doctor of physical therapy. And with that, again, my heart was becoming more closed. I was less open to changing, evolving, adapting, emotions. All signs that you are closing your heart. How do you open your heart? You start healing your self-image. You start addressing your emotional wounds that led you on this path that you took on in this lifetime, that you signed up to take on in this lifetime. You start addressing them. You start healing them. You start shifting them. You start learning from them to help others overcome the same thing. That's how you start opening your heart, on top of unconditionally loving yourself throughout the whole process. Easier said than done, but is it possible? 100%. And why I say that is because I've seen people, I don't want to see even people that are older than me, people that are around my age who are becoming just so set in their ways. And to me, that's such a dangerous place or mindset to be in, to think this is the life you have to have. You don't need to have any life except the life that you choose. Whether you're 22 or 82, you can start healing your self-image today. And going back even to law of focusing, and specifically law of focusing anger, I know I've said this in a million posts. I've said this on multiple podcasts. Love your emotions, love your anger. And I know I'm talking about it frequently as I'm saying, don't law of focus it. But I feel super passionately about talking about it Because I went through most of my life not even realizing I was storing and holding so much anger. Trauma stores itself in the body, and I had no idea that I was just trauma dumping anger into my body. And that is why I feel so passionately about that, because again, outwardly, and why I say again is because I know I've mentioned this before, I am perceived as a positive person. And I love that overall I am a positive person. But the mind fuck with that is when I would have an outlet or opportunity to express my anger or release it, I would just have something, I don't know, come over me where it's like, where is this anger even coming from? And to me, I don't want to say that's more dangerous than just having an outwardly negative persona. There's good and bad in everything. When I say a negative persona, there's good in that too. Maybe you're better at releasing your anger than I was. And that's why I feel passionately about it. And that's why I keep bringing it up, not to make it my whole personality, but just from a relatable point of view. You can be outwardly happy, but you can have inner turmoil. You know what I mean? Two things can be true. In society, and people think it's weird when you have outward expressive anger, even though you're supposed to be quiet, feminine, happy. I think about that all the time, especially when I would be in my day job as a physical therapist. Again, I literally had people, their point of view on me, their perspective of me was so different, I feel like, than how I was actually feeling a lot of the time. Because they would see my happy, outgoing, charismatic side, when inwardly I was hating my job. So the only reason why I'm bringing up law of focusing anger again is because I don't want to make it sound like I'm law of focusing on my anger only. I do, again, majority of the time, I'm happy and positive. But the point of it isn't to ignore your anger and push it down either. Acknowledge it, love it, express it in a healthy way. I don't even love the word in a healthy way, but in a way that authentically expresses yourself. Because sometimes authentically expressing yourself with anger isn't always popping off at the person. Sometimes it's just, okay, remove yourself from the situation. Maybe you just write about it or hit a pillow afterwards to release any anger you feel towards that person. You know what I mean? And bringing this back to the closed heart, a lot of people don't even realize that they wake up in the morning 67+% emotional. That can include anger, that can include sadness, that can include whatever. And as we move forward in life, and if you are not healing and addressing these things, your heart becomes more and more closed. You become more and more stubborn. The mentality is, this is my life. I can't do anything about it. And you're turning off your feelings more, even though internally your emotions are a hurricane and you're doing nothing about it. And guys, that's why in the morning, going back to how majority of us are waking up 67% or more emotional, that's why I do energetic clearings in the morning. And not saying you have to do that, but doing something in the morning to lower your emotions is beneficial. When I first got into this work, I thought this morning process I did had to be forever. I have now streamlined it to be 15 minutes or less because I hated doing, guys, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. doing hours of it. That's not realistic. And if anything, that was making my nervous system feel worse. I wasn't sleeping because I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and I'm feeling pressured and rushed to doing all of this energetic work. You do not need to do that. Newsflash, you do not need to do the most. And if anything, this triggers my anger a little bit because it felt like that's how I was taught to do it. And that's not shade towards anyone or anything. We take responsibility for our lives. We are autonomous. You can make decisions for yourself right now today. No one needs to tell you anything. You don't need to follow anyone, right? A limiting belief of mine was perfectionism. And I was seeing mentors, doing these things. I'm thinking, okay, if I want to be successful like that, I have to do their routines and their type of clearings and XYZ. You don't need to do that. If anything, what I found more beneficial for me is integrating my energetic work into my day. I start my morning with my energetic clearings. I love going on my walk with my dog. We stand in the grass for a little bit sometimes. It just helps me move things, it feels like, in my body. As woo as that sounds, it just helps me not make things feel so stagnant. You know what I mean? Especially, I live in Phoenix, so especially with the sunshine, it just feels good. Maybe your morning routine is a stretch, a cup of coffee on the balcony, whatever. Something to lower your emotional levels in the morning is huge. And guys, I don't even really meditate. Sometimes I go on and off with meditation. I don't do guided meditations. If anything, I think of it as a check-in with my brain. And I'll do this even in the middle of my day. I won't even really do it in the morning. I check in middle of the day. What's going on in the brain? Let's calm it a little bit. Sometimes my meditations lead into a nap, which is nice. which also don't underestimate the power of a nap. I don't even call it a nap. It's like I just zone out for 20 minutes and it's amazing. And guys, I'm LOLing at my notes that I took on this. I was getting really fiery about how when I first got into the spiritual work of healing my self-image, doing ingredients. If you don't know what ingredients are, just think of a affirmation, but better. And why is it better is because there are tools you can do to emotionally connect to that affirmation that an affirmation alone won't give you. And why it really pisses me off is, again, because I had this perfectionist mindset. And again, I'm not blaming anyone or anything. This is a me thing. And why, when I first got into this work, why it was also triggering me, how I was doing things or how I was taught to do things, is because you don't need to be doing the most to get the best bang for your buck, essentially, to get the most benefit from what you are doing. The advanced info is not always better. The advanced processes and steps are not always better. So let me set the scene. Let me paint the picture of what I used to do. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. There are different clearings you could do to clear your energy, remove dark forces, do your ingredients, again, which are affirmations, but better. And I would just be plugging away at everything, thinking, oh, I'm doing the most. This has to work. No. The advanced stuff, the doing the most stuff, the doing the most mentality will not serve you in the long run. And it took me the hard way to figure that out, because once I started to realize that, I felt like my whole identity came collapsing down. I'm not kidding. Once I found out, someone channeled for me. I did a paid intuitive reading, and that intuitive told me your higher self is telling you to stop doing the most. And I literally had an identity crisis, because I'm like doing the most for the most of my life, because that's what I thought I had to do to be successful. That's part of my soul plan. That's so that I feel so passionately about it today, to get other people to stop doing the most. You do not need the advanced info to be successful, because I've even seen in this work other intuitives craving this more advanced information, this source level. Well, this is all source level information, but this channeled from source, greatest info ever, elite information, and it's all elite information. Let me just get through that through everyone's head right now. It's all elite information. But you know what I mean? It's like you can be fine. If I had to compare it, you could be fine with first grade level information, but there are people that are seeking postdoctorate info. And I'm here to tell you, you do not need that postdoctorate info to be successful. When I was writing this out, when I was having this epiphany, my mom sneezed. And if you don't know what that means, my mom was just visiting me. But when you sneeze, it's source truth. It's confirmation of what you were thinking, what you were doing is correct. Even if it's another person around you, your dog, if someone sneezes in your vicinity, stop and actually think, what am I thinking right now? What am I doing? Because it's confirmation of the truth. And my mom sneezed during this. You do not need the advanced info to be successful. I have my doctorate in physical therapy. I do not need that advanced information from my DPT to be successful today. Period. That is what we are taught, though. We are taught and we seek this advanced info. And I'm a learner. Again, I have my doctorate of physical therapy. I love learning. I love getting all the information. I am also here to tell you, you do not need that to do your sole purpose. Is it wonderful and fabulous to maybe paint a bigger picture, to have a deeper understanding? 1000%. Especially because learning and doing new things is a key component of staying youthful. Keep learning, keep growing, keep seeking information. But I've seen people obtain this higher level of information while ignoring basics. You need to solidify and be a master in basics. You need to know what 1 + 1 is before you know what 200 times 2 is. You know what I mean? You need the basic level of information. You need to become a master at it before you can even apply and use that advanced information. And I say this because it triggers me in the intuitive world sometimes. We seek more information. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. Truthfully, I love learning. And then people obtain this information and they think, oh, this was the answer I needed. And it's like, bitch, no. You just needed to get back to why you were so triggered in the first place. Why do you think you need that advanced information to make you better? You know what I mean? Because that's a reflection too. Thinking you need more information to make you better, to make you good enough. And people ignore that. Simplify it. Simplify your life. Master the basics and avoid burnout. Do you want to know what I was thinking when I was doing that 5 a.m. turmoil of energetic clearings? While I was writing my notes for this podcast, I was thinking I was on the train to burning myself out. If I would do that day in and day out, I would burn myself out. That's not fun. Your life is supposed to be fun. You doing things because you think you have to and you're trying to squeeze it into your day and you're trying to obtain something, you will burn yourself out. You are good enough now as you are. Everything you've done is already enough. Remember that. Nothing more is going to make you greater. This is one analogy I've heard from numerous mentors in this space, but think of a baby. A baby does nothing and we love it unconditionally. What changes from a baby to the time you're 22? You're still the same person. Be the baby that does nothing. It's already more than enough. Because guys, you know what's funny? You already have so many of the answers to your problems within you. If you would train your intuition, you already have the answers to your problems. Nothing is a problem. Things are happening for you, but just for the sake of verbiage, nomenclature, semantics, insert whatever. Your problems are not actually problems, but you already have all the answers to the problems that you are experiencing. Maybe I should say the challenges. You already have the answers to all of the challenges you are experiencing right now. Everything else you learn is just the cherry on top of it. You know what's funny? This will happen to me with reflections if you don't know what a reflection is. At all moments, you are broadcasting your thoughts, actions, and beliefs that you hold to be true at that time. You are broadcasting it via your electromagnetic field. As humans, we all radiate a frequency and we all radiate an electromagnetic field. An example of this is your heart. Your heart's electromagnetic field is actually 100 times stronger than your brain's. And there are various instruments that measure this, even a magnetometer is one. So what a reflection is in this electromagnetic field, again, hold your thoughts, actions, and beliefs that you hold to be true at that time. And whatever you hold to be true at that time is reflected back to you in the form of other people, situations, circumstances, matter. That is all responding to your electromagnetic field. You will also hear it called your creator field. And what happens with me with reflection sometimes, I start to overanalyze. Oh my God, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? Blah, 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 blah. And when I go back to basics, I just see it so much clearer of what is actually going on in my life. How that reflection is making you feel is the limiting belief that you are holding to be true. Let me use another Hinge example. I'm chuckling because I talked about Hinge, I think it was 2 or 3 podcasts ago, but I've recently had another guy texting me, stop texting me. I'm like, oh my God, these boys suck. That's what I'm thinking. From a human POV, I'm like, this sucks. And this guy, what he was reflecting back to me is my lack of commitment and consistency in my physical area of life, which is 1,000% true. I've been all over the place in what I'm eating and what I'm drinking and blah, blah, blah. And that's just what he's reflecting back to me. Because how did I feel after this guy stopped texting me after he was super consistent about it? I'm like, he's not consistent. And then I look inward, I'm like, oh, that's because I'm not being consistent in my life. Your life is a mirror. Anything happening to you is a mirror. It is a mirror of exactly what you hold to be true about yourself, any beliefs you hold to be true, any actions you hold to be true. Your life is mirroring that back to you. And it could be deep, guys. It could be so deep. It could be so subconscious. 95% of our brain operates subconsciously. 95% of our patterns, emotional responses, of our judgments lives in our subconscious. So you could be thinking, oh no, I'm not treating myself. I am consistent, right? Like, especially if I didn't know this work, I would think, no, I am being consistent. I do my morning routine consistently. I post my podcast consistently, but you have 8 areas of your life. So there's some area of your life where you are not being consistent / committed to yourself. And for me, that was my physical area of life. And that's what this dude was reflecting. And guys, why I'm harping on that is because you do not need advanced information to realize that is a fundamental of healing yourself. Recognizing that you are the creator of your reality. And that's why it really gets me going when I see these people striving for more advanced information. I'm like, you don't need it. And guys, me literally scaling back the energetic work that I used to do made me so much happier, calmed my nervous system, reduced my anger. There is power in less. That's why they say less is more. Less is more. Also, another little fun way I integrate energetic work into my day is I'll do it in my car. Instead of, I love listening to music or whatever in my car, or sometimes I just drive in silence, which is sometimes nice, sometimes annoying. Why I say sometimes annoying is because I could see my higher self telling me, no, just stop, think clear for a second and see what the fuck is going on in your brain right now. But guys, it is the perfect place to do energetic clearings. Think about if you drive somewhere every day, what a flex just to integrate anything you would do early in the morning, just integrate it into your morning drive. You will thank me. I swear this has changed the game for me because it's just allowing me to integrate it into my day seamlessly and not having to carve out time in our day. We do not have any more time to carve out. You know what I mean? Sleep in, rest, take breaks, carve any additional work into the nooks and crannies of your day where you can. Yeah, guys, and the State of the Union was this week. What a memorable speech. That literally will go down in history. It's one of the best speeches I've seen by Trump. And whether you are for or opposed to Trump, his number one agenda priority is to make America better, period. I've never seen a State of the Union where more accolades and recognition were given to angel families, veterans, current military, the U.S. men's hockey team. And truly, it's so incredible what he's done in a year. And I say this because Trump is a light body. Trump has genuine goodness in him to help the country. And law of opposing forces, because there's a universal law of opposing forces, is putting all of these people in his face to oppose his goodness, because with good, there is also bad. With light, there is also dark. Watch the people who are radically opposed to him and ditch their ideology, ditch following them, because they are absent of light. Intuitively, I see that, and even without intuition, I'm not saying Trump is perfect, but he is genuinely just trying to help America. And guys, especially if you watched it or not, just look at the other political party. There are some people who didn't stand for angel families. There were people on the Democratic side who didn't stand when Trump asked, and I want to make sure I quote this correctly, majority of the Democratic Party, or maybe even none of them, it was hard to see on TV, did not stand when Trump asked, stand if you agree that the first duty of the American government is to protect its citizens, not illegal aliens. Guys, take out your opinions on Trump for a second. That's just common sense. Any politician is supposed to be representing you. They're supposed to be representing America. They're supposed to be representing Americans. And people on the Democratic side did not even stand for that. They did not stand for wanting to protect American citizens over illegal aliens. That's crazy. Common sense. That's crazy. Intuitively, there's a dark force agenda behind it. Common sense-wise, what? That's insane. And then even before the State of the Union, I was looking into psyops. Psyops are psychological operations. And a psychological operation, especially in the government, military, is a strategic plan to influence your emotions, your ideas, to follow a certain narrative. It's essentially people wanting to influence your judgment to do what they want you to do, to think the way they want you to think, to vote the way they want you to vote. So I came across this former military expert named Chase Hughes. You can look him up. Intuitively, I see he's an upper 90s% expert on psyops. And in this clip I saw of his, he was on a podcast, but he was listing the 3 main ways to recognize if you are in a psyop. First of all, he said, always assume you're in a psyop, which tracks 97% of our thoughts and actions and beliefs are not even our own. We're easily influenced people. I've said this before, I always use this example, but why else would influencing be a multi-million-dollar career? We are easily influenced. So he said the first way to recognize if you are in a psyop or not, or if a psyop is going on, is matching narratives. Matching narratives meaning from media, news outlets, and he said from social authority, meaning popular pop singers, he mentioned. He didn't mention names, but you can assume who these people are. They're strongly opposed to Trump, and they all are saying the same things. That's the first sign that a psyop is going on. And that was actually 2. Matching narratives was number 1. The celebrity influence was number 2. And he said the third way to recognize if a psyop is going on, if you see people being ostracized, aka silenced for disagreeing with an idea. Perfect examples of this. Trump almost getting assassinated. Another example of this, Charlie Kirk actually getting assassinated. He even mentioned MDs during the pandemic that were speaking out against the C-shot, who were being ostracized. All of these people being silenced are the people you need to be paying attention to, or the people who are spreading truth. And a quote from this podcast clip from Chase Hughes, if an idea requires suppression to exist, it's a horrible idea. Good ideas don't need to suppress other people. Good ideas travel on their own. My mind was blown. It's so simple. And the light bulbs were just clicking in my head because, duh, if you have such a great idea, if this is the way things should be, you do not need to suppress anyone to be successful. And that is what a certain political party, a certain way of thinking is doing. I'm all for disagreeing and understanding each person's point of view. I was just talking about this with one of my friends. She's a dear friend of mine. We've been friends, 10 plus years. We have different POVs on vaxes. And I don't even want to say I'm anti-vax. I'm just pro making decisions for yourself. I'm pro people not telling you what to do. So if something doesn't feel right, I don't want to be forced to do it. And I don't care if you agree with that or not. If anything, we should not all agree with each other. That's not how you grow. That's not how you evolve. If we were all agreeing on the same thing, that would be brainwashing. That would be a cult. Respect the other POV. You don't need to silence it. People are being massacred over this for having an opposite point of view. I say this because open up your eyes to that. When you're seeing other people being killed or attempted to be killed, sirens should be going off in your head. Okay, why is this person having an assassination attempt on them? That should be your first clue that that person, what they're saying is right and does not fit an absent of light agenda. Absent of light is synonymous with dark force. Dark forces are people, ideologies, groups who do not have your best interests at heart, who do not have the best interests for humanity. To put it simply, they want to keep you in fear because they want to maintain their power, their status, their money. And how do they do that? By controlling the narrative, by making you fearful, by using psyops to get you on board with them. Like if you need to blacklist doctors to promote a vax, like the C shot, that's a red flag. Oh my God, and to end on some lighter news, my parents were just visiting. And you know what I noticed when they were here is that I wasn't putting so much pressure and stress on the business, my energetic work, on just life in general. I was just going with the flow. We were going out when we wanted to. We were eating what we wanted to. I was drinking caffeine at 2 p.m. I was drinking a beer at 1 p.m. watching the USA men's hockey team. That had to be the semifinals game that we were doing that because the gold medal game was really early. But my point being, I was putting less pressure on things. I was just going with the flow. And you know what I noticed what happened? My physical reflections for anger went so low. They were non-existent. And that just shows, again, the power of a chill pill. Even the pressure to just not eat healthy and the pressure to avoid seed oils and the pressure to avoid this type of water, blah, blah, blah. I'm all for it. I'm all for a healthy lifestyle, obviously. But sometimes it's just like, oh my God, I don't want to think about how this chip is bad for me. You know what I mean? It just tastes good. Just let me eat it. And that was wildly beneficial for me. Take the pressure off. Eat the chip. You are not going to die from it. You're not eating these chips all day, every day. Do a mini detox after. You know what I mean? Which is LOL so funny. I'm not going out there to say eat all the junk food in the world, but sometimes I notice if my anger is flaring up in my body in my physical form. Again, because you store trauma in your physical form. So I notice my physical form is starting to flare up with my anger symptoms. Sometimes when I eat junk food, they go away. Again, I have a high value for a healthy lifestyle. It's literally part of the reason, again, why that dude from Hinge didn't message me back, because I wasn't being consistent with my physical diet. That's just helping me get back on track with, okay, we had our fun out there for a little bit with doing whatever, but now let's reel it back in. Let's detox a little bit within reason. I'm not black and white cutting out every single negative thing that you could potentially eat, because again, that's just putting pressure on myself, and putting pressure on myself is not helping the anger either. You know what I mean? My point is balance. Don't be so hard on yourself. There's good and bad in everything. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and we'll see you next week.